This is a case analysis of Western pharmaceutical companies and how they should do business going forward in China. It's prepared for Management 685 in the winter of 2015. We are comprised of Wilson Kreider, myself Jason Goldman, James Wynn, and Irma Romo. For this case analysis, we will take you through the scenario of the case, the decision problem that the pharmaceutical companies must solve, an overall industry analysis of the Chinese pharmaceutical market, a few alternative solutions, how they can implement our chosen solution, and also an accountability plan to make sure the solution is implemented properly.
Case scenario: China pharmaceutical market has gradually transformed from the central plant to a market economy due to changes that have taken root with transitions in the institutional framework. From a managerial perspective, it is essential for Western firms doing business in China pharmaceutical sector to understand how China's ongoing transition process affects its strategic positioning along the local value chain. Background: the China pharma market became the world's third largest in 2012 and is expected to grow further with an estimated annual growth rate of up to 21.8% until 2013. Therefore, together with 16 other emerging countries, China is considered a emerging market. However, China pharma industry is still largely fragmented and Western firm participation in China is very limited. Currently, the top 10 pharma companies in China come from Western organizations, and domestic firms predominantly dominate the market, which account for about 75% of annual sales. 95% of the 75% annual sales operate in the low-value generic market. As China gradually transitioning over to the institutional framework, it is advantageous to Western companies to foster and encourage the acceleration of this transitional period because the institutional framework serves as a constraint to regulate economic activity by providing the rule of game. A strong and stable institutional framework will facilitate business exchanges since it reduces uncertainty, transaction costs, and help to protect intellectual property rights, regulation of health insurance, and pricing control. The overhaul of China healthcare system, also known as the Healthy China 2020 plan, which started in 2009, consists of the implementation of a comprehensive three-scheme healthcare insurance system: the urban employee basic medical insurance, the urban resident basic medical insurance, and the new rural cooperative medical insurance. Through the reform and implementation of these three insurance schemes, drug pricing and reimbursement are regulated by governmental agency via a restrictive hybrid pricing control. Maximum retail prices are defined within the National Reimbursement Drug List, which constitute the reimbursement framework for the urban employee basic medical insurance and the urban resident basic medical insurance. On the other hand, the price and quantity of drugs that will be stocked in hospital are negotiated at the provincial level via a tendering system. The effect of this complex tendering system has the potential to force vendors to lower wholesale prices. Furthermore, China's dynamic transition toward a rather market-oriented system lead to continuous changes and instability in the institutional framework. This fundamental and comprehensive changes in China's healthcare system present challenges to the rule of the game and can affect Western companies that are currently doing business in pharma sector at the organization level. Decision problem. Because of all this gradual and incremental changes within the China healthcare system at the management level, the question that needs to be asked is, what should the strategy be for Western pharmaceutical companies to increase their presence in the Chinese market?
Hi, my name is Wilson Kreider, and I'm here to talk about Group 6 industry analysis of the China pharma market using Porter's 5 forces. Porter's 5 forces consist of threat of new entrants, the threat of substitute products, the bargaining power of customers, the bargaining power of suppliers, and the competitive rivalry within the industry. Based on our analysis, we believe the threat of new entrants is favorable because government is encouraging new entrants via tax incentives and requiring local clinical trials prior to product launch. as well as clinical trial approval process is much slower than the European process, where it takes 9 to 12 months versus 60 days. The threat of substitute products is also favorable for the Western pharma corporations because Western medicine is a clear alternative to the traditional Chinese medicine, and Chinese intellectual property laws are improving to reduce the risk to them. The bargaining power of customers, however, we feel is unfavorable because the existing customers consist of hospitals, which is 70 to 80% of the market, and retail pharmacies, which is supplied by over 7,000 national and provincial wholesalers. In addition, the drug pricing and reimbursement policies are highly regulated and monitored by government agencies via a comparably restrictive hybrid pricing model. As for bargaining power of suppliers, this is also favorable to the industry because there's a growing talent pool, low labor costs, and abundant animals for testing. Finally, the competitive rivalry within the industry is also unfavorable to the Western pharma corporations because the market is currently dominated by more than 3,700 domestic firms, accounting for about 75% of annual sales, of which approximately 95% is in the low-value generics market. In addition, the majority of the top 10 pharma companies in China are Western players. Hi, this is Wilson Kreider again, here to discuss our industry analysis using the ValueNet framework. This framework attempts to answer questions in the following areas regarding the players involved, the added value to be provided, and the rules of the game. Regarding the players, we believe the Western pharma's competitor successes will help to overcome the liability of foreignness. Research is often conducted in partnerships with local academic or governmental institutions, generating support for Western-produced medicine. And finally, local research collaborations help to gain further support from government and key opinion leaders such as doctors. Regarding the added value that Western corporations hope to add, we believe Western medicine is a viable alternative to traditional Chinese medicine among Chinese patients, and the changing Chinese epidemiology profile helps to create a need for Western medicine. Regarding the rules of the game, the government has created favorable tax regulations for pharma corporations. Government requires local trials prior to product launch, forcing Western pharma companies to invest in Chinese operations. The clinical trial approval process is quite long. It's 9 to 12 months as opposed to 60 days in Europe. This requires large investments by the Western pharma companies to stay in the market. Chinese patent law now formally provides intellectual property protection according to the World Trade Organization standards. And finally, the government has started a comprehensive three-scheme healthcare insurance system to increase the affordability of the medicine. Hi, this is Wilson Kreider once again doing our industry analysis using the nation's competitive advantage diamond. This analysis involves the factor conditions, demand conditions, related and supporting industries, finally firm rivalry, structure, and strategies. We believe the factor conditions are favorable for Western pharma corporations. There is a growing and highly ambitious talent pool, which offers large recruitment possibilities at comparably lower labor market costs. There are extensive animals, including rats and primate resources. And there's a large patient pool that is not very risk-averse for fast and cost-efficient recruitment of test persons. The demand conditions are also favorable. The Chinese pharma market became the world's third largest in 2010 and is expected to grow further with estimated compound annual growth rates of up to 21.8% until 2013. The related and supporting industries are also favorable. The government incentivizes the establishment of research and development centers and actively invests in high-quality infrastructure and biotech parks. And the Chinese has reinforced the quality and safety regulations for clinical trials and medicine manufacture. Finally, the firm rivalry, structure, and strategies is also favorable. There are favorable tax regulations. Local laws are requiring local clinical trials prior to product launch, and the clinical trial approval process takes 9 to 12 months. The Chinese patent laws are now formally providing intellectual property protection rights according to the World Trade Organization standards, and the government is implementing a comprehensive 3-tier healthcare insurance system. Hi, this is Wilson Kreider. I'm here to discuss our analysis of the value chain using the pestle factors. These factors are political, economic, social, technological, ecological, and legal. Regarding the political factors, China is trying to be an innovative-oriented country by 2020. They have formal improvement of quality and safety regulations as well as healthcare reform. On the economic front, they offer tax incentives to attract investment in research and development. On the social side, there is increasing social demand for quality and safe products. Western pharma corporations need to overcome the liability of foreignness. The government is expanding healthcare to the rural areas. There is urbanization and rising disposable incomes in the Chinese market. And there's now an acceptance of Western medical paradigm. On the technological front, there is infrastructure development being promoted by the Chinese government. Ecological, there are animal resources and rising raw material prices. And finally, legal, the formal alignment of intellectual property rights along with international standards and the high regulatory requirements for Western herbal medicine. Hi, Wilson Kreider once again to do our analysis of the value chain using the blue ocean view. This is to identify alternate target customers with alternate value factors. We would like to reduce in-house research and development and manufacture processes, eliminate the over-the-counter and generic pharma products since they are dominated by the domestic companies. We would like to create a Western prescription drug market versus the traditional Chinese market to take advantage of that changing Chinese epidemiological profile. And we want to finally raise the legitimacy of Western medicine.
Alternative solutions number 1. Do what they are doing now. Upgrading along the value chain. Western pharmas have increasingly redirected their investment focus from the construction of manufacturing sites towards the establishment of R&D facilities. Outsourcing to contract service providers. Western pharmas are increasingly outsourcing portions of their R&D and manufacturing processes to China. Expansion of geographic scope. Western pharmas have started to expand their market reach both in breadth toward lower tier cities and in depth within target cities. Diversification of product portfolio. Western pharmas have realigned their product portfolio to the requirements of the broader customer base of the Chinese market. Alternative solutions number 2. R&D partnership and collaborative research in order to build a reputation for innovation. Also, local research collaborations help to gain further support from the government and key opinion leaders such as doctors. Finally, it will help to overcome the liability of foreignness for Western corporations. Alternative solutions number 3. 1. Develop holistic strategies specifically tailored to the Chinese market. 2. Account not only for the country's magnitude but also its regional discrepancies. 3. Adapt traditional Western product portfolios to China's socio-economic and regulatory environment. 4. Anticipate changing factor market advantages with regard to sourcing and production. 5. Consider further upscaling of R&D and increase collaboration with Chinese contract service providers, according to the improvements of the IPR enforcement. 6. Participate in China's transition process by communicating value propositions. Quote, the combined use of institutional theory and value chain perspective has proven applicable to identify and analyze post-entry strategy development in the pharmaceutical industry in China, end quote.
After considering the 3 possible alternatives that the Western pharmaceutical companies could take in China, we recommend that the companies pursue alternative 3. Alternative 3 focuses on a long-term strategy to position the companies for success in the region over the long term. Given the sheer volume of the population, it is imperative that these markets not be ignored. In order to do this, they need to diversify their product portfolio to suit the Chinese market. The companies will also need to ensure that they're prepared to adapt to the future challenges in the market and the evolving demands of Chinese consumers as more Western medicine is accepted. Key pillars of ensuring the success of our recommended Alternative 3 is an implementation plan that focuses on many details and many different areas throughout the Chinese political and economic system. One of the first things that they can do, focusing on a short-term gain, is working with Chinese officials to encourage a more frequent updating of the National Reimbursement Drug List. If they can explain to the Chinese citizens why it needs to be done more frequently, this could lead to more frequent updates and greater reimbursements for these drug companies. In order to win the hearts and minds of the Chinese citizens, they need to partner with firms and companies that Chinese consumers already know and trust. This means emphasizing local connections and also in letting the Chinese consumer know of the investment that Western pharmaceutical companies are having in China and the impact that this is doing for the health of the Chinese people. They need to focus on reaching consumers via places like social media and other areas where consumers frequently go and look for medical information in order to ensure that their names are now synonymous with medicine. It's important to win that mind share as people start transitioning from Eastern medicine to more Western medical practices. The other thing they can do is help the advancement of Healthy China 2020, which focuses on a three-pronged approach to get healthcare to the very diverse population of China. So the next thing they can do is do a lot of market research. They can gain a better understanding of consumers in China. They need to know how they can help start transitioning them from more Eastern medical practices to more Western. This will only serve to benefit them. They also need to ensure they stay away from controversial issues, not get too politically involved, and they also need to develop business contingency and response plans to prepare for operating challenges that are bound to arise in this new market. This means ensuring that if they get involved in controversy, the government changes plans, they have a plan to counter this and be ready to continue operating in this changed environment. In order to be successful with the implementation of the recommended Alternative 3, it is important that the Western pharmaceutical companies set up a detailed accountability plan that sets certain milestones and targets for themselves as they go forward. One of the first things they can do is set initial 6 and 12-month targets to increase both market share of their drugs and also mind share of the Chinese population. This means increasing penetration of Western-style drugs in the Chinese pharmaceutical market, but also trying to win over the hearts and minds of the Chinese population, see if they're even interested in using those drugs that are being produced for the market. And if these are not being met, they need to modify their implementation plan to find a way to meet those targets. They also need to start off with a survey of public perception of the company and their product offerings. They need to continue surveying the population at 6 and 12-month marks to ensure the methods they are using in marketing and research and development are actually working and they are winning the hearts and minds of people. Because if public perception is not improved, they need to adjust their implementation and strategy accordingly. It's also imperative that the right products are on the market for the Chinese population. There's a hard balance between Eastern versus Western medicine, and it's the Western pharmaceutical companies are going to have to walk a fine line for a long time to win over the Chinese population. It is also finally important that the companies benchmark against like companies, whether it's benchmarking against Chinese pharmaceutical companies or also Western pharmaceutical companies. They need to make sure they know the number of drugs each has in clinical trials. They need to know the market share of over-the-counter, prescription drugs, generics, and they make sure they have a diversified drug base that they can sell to the population. They also need to make sure they're following industry trends such as outsourcing for cost savings so they can remain competitive. If they follow these plans and our recommendations, we believe the Western pharmaceutical companies are ready for success in the Chinese market given the over 1 billion people in the market and they're going to need healthcare for a long time.